Moving on to section C, of course, there are two 25-mark questions here. You pick one, but of course, for practice, we're going to answer both of them. And let's get started with question 7. So, going straight to the question, evaluate possible methods of government intervention to control household energy bills. So, it sounds like a quite good question so far. So, how can the government intervene to control the household energy bills? Now, why do you want to control them? I'm guessing the stimulus is going to tell us. So the average household energy bill rose from 80% from wherever it rose from. So basically, we're trying to. So what's the question asking us now? So let's do a little plan here. So what are the methods that government can intervene to reduce household prices? First one that comes to my mind is, of course, just a maximum price. And why does a maximum price work? It puts a cap on how much these energy firms can charge consumers, thus meaning that, of course, it helps reduce that energy, the household energy bills. But let's keep brainstorming here. So how else can we reduce the household energy bill? And this question is basically, even though it's not specifically stating it, it's kind of just market failure. Like I said, second most popular topic in the A-Level Economics. It's just strategies to basically solve market failure, but just asking it in a different way. And another great one is subsidies. Why can subsidies help reduce the household energy cost? Because it depends who we subsidise. So in this case, we can actually just subsidise the household. So if the cost is now $3,549, we can maybe subsidise households for 20%. It's like in the UK, single person households, when the energy bill crisis was happening, they would actually get a reduction in the energy bill, which was just a subsidy. Now, there are two great methods, which you pretty much write your entire 25 marker on. So just one paragraph on maximum price, really develop it. One paragraph on subsidies and really develop it. Now, if we want to think of some more points which aren't just generic, we're going to have to take a bit of a deeper dive into what the question is asking us. So it's asking us about the energy market. So if we think about the energy market, you have to use a bit of our own knowledge. How would you say the energy market is structured? Which firms occupy it? What sort of market structure do they occupy? So you can talk about arguments. Maybe it's probably, if even without a lot of knowledge on it, you probably can guess it's a bit of an oligopolistic market structure, very high barriers to entry. You could even argue things like if the government had control over the energy market, whether it would be better outcomes for households. So arguments for like privatisation. And so literally you could write a full paragraph on nationalising these energy firms. And if you look at the stimulus, it's told us that energy bills, the prices of energy have risen 80%, but it hasn't actually told us anything about the costs. So that could technically mean that these firms are just making massive super low profits. So then you could talk about how these firms are exploiting consumers, maybe with monopoly power, and they 100% do have monopoly power. So you talk about levels of regulation, so like the CMA coming in. Okay, so personally, the way I do this, probably do one paragraph on maximum price, second paragraph on subsidies, and then if I had time, like I said, a lot of this does depend on timing. I probably would do another paragraph on either one of them two. But if I didn't have enough time, you can still 100% score 25 out of 25 with two solid paragraphs and final judgment. And yeah, but how would I? So let's start with the maximum price diagram. So the way I'd start is, I believe one possible method of government intervention to control household energy prices would be by the government setting a maximum price or a price ceiling. Then, of course, like I always say, what is the paragraph structure? Point, application, analysis, and then link back to question. So then we move on to the application stage of our paragraph. Now this is why in my live classes I emphasize and teach as much real world application as possible, as especially for these 25 mark questions. You need to have an appreciation of the real world of economics, and you will be exposed if you do not know any examples. So here, for example, I would give in 2022 the London Mayor Sadiq Khan proposed to set a maximum price on rent in the UK, in London, to stop the increases in rent prices. There's many examples of this. I think in New York, the mayor Arnold, the actor, he set a maximum price on rent, I think, also, but the one in the UK actually never happened. It was just proposed. But yeah, anyway, it's a good bit of application. And then moving on to the analysis. And the way I'd build most of the chain of analysis is, of course, around the diagram. So how do you draw a maximum price diagram? So price, quantity, what does a maximum price diagram look like? It's just simple supply, demand curve. Now let's think, where is a maximum price diagram? Where's it going to go? Is it above or below the equilibrium price? Now, a maximum price, what you're trying to do, and let's look back to the question, we're trying to reduce that price. We're trying to reduce that price below what the firms are already charging, so below this 3,000. So would a maximum price be above or below the equilibrium? Now, I might explain this every single time we do these, but you don't understand, especially even in high-level students, how many students mess this up and then have to redraw it, or they just totally mess up an entire paragraph. But let's think about it. Maximum price, what we're trying to do, we're trying to reduce the price. If you're trying to reduce the price, it's going to be below the equilibrium price. Let me just level up the equilibrium here. So it's going to be below the equilibrium price, thus meaning it's going to look something like this. And we'll call that Pmax. Now this is where you develop the chain of analysis. Let's just label up the diagram. So this is going to be QS, and then this is going to be QD. So what's happening straight away? What does the gap between QS and QD represent? This represents what? It represents excess demand. Why is that? Let's think very simply. Prices have decreased from PE to Pmax, thus producers have less incentive to supply. But then if you think about the inverse relationship of demand, it means that at lower prices, there's more quantity demanded. So these lower prices, consumers want more, but producers do not want to produce as much at these lower prices. Now, it depends on the sector, but in this question, we're talking about energy, and of course, energy is a necessity. It's a massive thing that consumers need, so it's going to be a massive problem for consumers if they cannot get energy and if there's an excess demand of energy. But that's more of a negative effect of it, and you probably would use that in evaluation. So the way I would basically structure my analysis, just tell the examiner basically what I've said to you so far, that they would set the maximum price at the price ceiling below the equilibrium price, as they want to reduce that, and even use a bit of application here. They want to reduce the price from 3,549 to a price that's more affordable for consumers. Why does that work? Since, like I said, talk about the inverse relationship of demand at lower prices, consumers can afford to demand more. And let's think about the surpluses. If prices decrease below the equilibrium, what is going to happen to consumer surplus? Of course, consumer surplus is going to increase. And you can't actually show this on the diagram. This is not needed, but since the problem with the maximum price diagram is that it's a very simple, very straightforward diagram. So adding a few of these annotations can just elevate that level and show you that top level, that level 5 band student. So all you need to do is go from your Pmax, so at that point where your Pmax intersects the supply curve, and go vertically up from there. And then from there, once you've hit this point here, go left. Now this should mean you have 3 triangles, so 1 triangle here, 1 triangle here, and 1 triangle here, then 2 boxes. So 3 triangles are 2 boxes by basically just going from your where supply equals your Pmax, go up and then go left. Now, what do these represent? Very simply, all these 3 are just consumer surplus, and this last one is specifically consumer surplus gain. So this is the consumer surplus gained by setting a maximum price. Why? Of course, since the price decreases, so there's more consumers who are willing and able to buy. And then also we have this triangle here, which is a complete triangle of deadweight loss. And you can be even more specific with it. The top of the triangle is consumer deadweight welfare loss, and the bottom of the triangle is producer deadweight welfare loss. And of course, the reason why the producer deadweight welfare loss happens is since a lower price, so there's less producers who are willing and able to produce at that price. But that last triangle below there will actually show the producer surplus. So even though the price is low, there's still some consumers, there's still some gap between what consumers are willing to produce for and what they actually produce for. But overall, all this does is just helps you add a few more analysis points where you talk about how the effects of the maximum price. The maximum price, of course, is going to lead to consumer surplus gain, producer surplus loss, and then, of course, deadweight loss. And you can talk about the specific deadweight losses. And overall, relate this back to the question, would help reduce the household energy prices, help maybe make this figure a bit closer to the original figure, etc, etc. And then, of course, in your 25 marker, you will be expected to have a very high level of evaluation. And how are you going to evaluate this? Now, there are plenty of evaluation points here. I would aim for 2 to 3 here, 100%, since there's so many quality evaluation points. Number one, firstly, you can comment on the excess demand, like I said previously. Since it's like I said, it's a necessity good. There's excess demand, so basically there's not enough supply of a necessity good. That's going to lead to very bad consumer outcomes. So the way I'd phrase it is probably, however, this depends on the shortage caused by maximum prices, and that is actually going to lead to a worse outcome for society overall. And then quote it, use your diagram, show the examiner, pick up those application marks, pick up those diagram marks, show the examiner exactly where that excess demand is, so from QS to QD, and tell me what that means. Now, another great evaluation point that should basically, you can use it in taxes, you can use it in maximum prices, and you've probably heard me say it before, but however, this depends on the size of the maximum price. As if we have a look at this, and just a little quick example, if you really wanted to, if you had the time, you could even draw out this example. If we set the maximum price somewhere like here, look how much that amplifies the losses on the diagram. Look how much, if we just look at the producer surplus, look how much smaller the producer surplus is. Look how much larger the excess demand is, for example, and this is going to lead to severe shortages. And so you could say, however, in evaluation, the positive effects or the effectiveness of the maximum price depends on the size of the maximum price. As when the government sets the maximum price, they do not have perfect information. Therefore, if they set the maximum price at a too large value, so if they set the maximum price, the price ceiling too low, it's going to lead to catastrophic, like massive effects on excess demand, massive shortages, massive reductions in producer surplus, thus leading to a much worse allocation of resources. And you can link that to a main thing, which is government failure, where the government have intervened in the market and led to a worsened allocation of resources than before. Now, another great evaluation point is the presence of black markets. So usually we say that by setting maximum prices for most goods, it's going to lead to black markets. And of course, you could just talk about classic ones like the admin costs of regulation, as they're going to have to spend tax money, allocate resources to like enforcers who make sure these energy firms are charging that maximum price and not charging any higher. So you can talk about the opportunity cost of allocating those resources there, whereas you could probably spend those resources on, I don't know, investing into new renewable energy sources, which in the long run could become cheaper. But yeah, like I always say, lots of points for that paragraph, but that is a brief summary on how I would do the maximum price diagram on, well, the maximum price paragraph. And then let's move on to the second paragraph, which of course would be the subsidies paragraph. Now, moving on to the second paragraph, and it depends, like I said, you can do a paragraph of maximum prices, one on nationalisation, one on CMA regulation. But if you were doing the subsidies paragraph, like I said, you might pick subsidies and you might pick nationalisation. So you might only do them two paragraphs, since maximum price and subsidies, a lot of the time you're going to be speaking about very similar things. As if you just think about it, subsidies, how are we going to word the question? One possible method the government can intervene to control household energy bills is providing households with subsidies. E.g, the UK provided single-person households in 2023 with a household bill subsidy. And then move on to basically the diagram and the chains of analysis. How would you do this? Of course, you draw a subsidy diagram, which looks something like this. So supply, and then S plus sub, and then the demand curve. Now, with the subsidy diagram, like I said, it's a very almost like year 12 diagram. It's a very simple diagram where there's not much you can really speak about unless you annotate it and you add in the points, which is pretty much like we did before, just commenting on the consumer and producer surplus and commenting on how they change. And yeah, and the way I do that is just labeling this up. So A there, B, C, then D, E. As remember one thing, when I'm illustrating diagrams on the iPad, I'm usually just colouring them in, but your exam paper is going to scan in black and white. So it doesn't matter if you use colours in your exam, everything scans in black and white. So if you've just got diagrams like this, where consumer surplus before, consumer surplus after, all the examiner is going to see is black diagrams. And of course that makes it a lot less easy for the examiner to actually identify what you're saying, as how does the examiner know what's the differentiation between them two? So what I would do is, the way I would do it is consumer surplus before, and then consumer surplus after. So what is consumer surplus before? It's of course A, B, P, E, so just that triangle there. And then what is consumer surplus after? So after the subsidy. So of course, what does subsidy do? It it reduces producers' cost of production, thus shifting the supply curve out to S plus sub, which leads to lower prices for consumers and higher quantity produced. But what is consumer surplus after? It is now this larger triangle, which is A, P1D. And let's do the same for producer surplus. So what is producer surplus before? So before supply curve, so the original supply curve is this little triangle here, which is PEBC, and then producer surplus after. So once this is our new supply curve, our S plus sub is P1DE, so this triangle here now. So basically we go from here to here with producer surplus, and then we go here to here with consumer surplus. And then with regards to evaluation, just the classic evaluation points like opportunity cost of the subsidy. Like I said before, they can maybe allocate these resources because they talk about energy firms. Instead of subsidising households, they could subsidise eco-friendly energy, thus meaning that they no longer have to rely on these like fossil fuels. Always subsidies, the valuation points are always quite simple. One of them is always going to be opportunity cost. And the way you could word this is saying, however, in a valuation, this depends on whether providing subsidies to households is the best way for the government to control household energy bills, as the government could allocate these resources to the process of nationalisation, so changing these energy firms from the private sector to owned by the state, meaning that it would have better long-run effects or impacts on consumers, as it means that by firms, and then you could just basically mention the positive effects of if the energy sector was nationalised, like something like they would buy all the energy, so they could they have more bulk buying power, and then of course, since they're government, they want to be actively efficient. They want to provide benefit to society. They could maybe even take a bit of a loss, so the society could benefit. And the way you could word that, it all depends on your paragraph. If your third paragraph is not nationalisation, maybe it's more to do with CMA regulation. You could word it saying, however, in evaluation, this depends on whether subsidies to households are the most effective way for the government to control household energy bills, as the government could allocate these resources, allocate the funds from the subsidy to spend on the process of nationalisation, as if the energy sector is nationalised, it would lead to several benefits for consumers, as the state would own the entire energy sector, therefore would experience the benefits of lower prices. So wherever they buy the energy from, they would have lower costs, thus meaning that could be translated to consumers. And things like a nationalised firm is going to be actively efficient. It's trying to provide positive externalities. It's trying to provide society with benefits. Therefore, it could lead to better overall outcomes for society. And that is the way, such a simple evaluation point being opportunity cost, you can really transform it into an A-star evaluation point. And what I always try to do with evaluation, even though the stimulus is small, like I always do with my section B evaluation, I'm always trying to relate it to the extract. But here also, you could talk about, however, in evaluation, this depends on the long run, on the longevity of the subsidy, as the government don't know what's going to happen to household energy bill prices in the long run. So they might continue rising. They may become 30,000 in 5 years. No one knows what's going to happen. Therefore, it depends on the sustainability, whether the government can actually continue subsidising every single household in the UK. So it depends on the long run effects of energy bills and energy prices. But yeah, of course, lots of evaluation points there, just a brief overview, brief summary of how I would attempt a paragraph on maximum prices and how I would attempt a paragraph on subsidy.